Afternoon, happy Friday. Welcome along to another Call to Work webinar. If you are watching back on YouTube, welcome to our YouTube channel. Please hit like, subscribe, all that stuff. Links will be in the description below to slides and all that type of stuff. We're delighted that you're here. Call to Work community on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, obviously, because you're here. Please follow us and get involved in this topic and others if you want to go back and listen to previous topics and webinars from the likes of all sorts of topics. Can't remember, Carl Beach and others, all there in the list below. So please check some of those out. Delighted today we have a fascinating speaker. I recently did his podcast, Why It Matters. We'll put that in the show notes so you can come and check out some of the episodes of that below. Talks about all sorts of fascinating things. But today we're going to be focusing on brands. So we have a real expert today, Michael Gough. I'll let him introduce himself and then crack straight into his talk today. So Michael, welcome. Please introduce yourself and over to you.
Yeah, thanks very much, James. Thanks so much for having me on. Yeah, so my background's in brand and marketing strategy. I work as a consultant. I think the trendy term these days is a fractional brand and marketing strategist. So kind of going in and spotting opportunities to strengthen brands. And today we're going to be thinking about this topic of creativity and moving from being forgettable to unmissable. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen, and it should all go very, very yellow, hopefully, if I've done the right thing. So I'm hoping you can see from forgettable to unmissable why small brands must bet on creativity. Give me a wave if you can see that.
We can see that. Thanks, man. Go for it.
Great. So the reality is that most small brands work incredibly hard to market themselves, don't they? So they're kind of social posts, emails, newsletters, websites, and reels. We're all at it trying to kind of increase our opportunities, build our prospects, and create more opportunities for ourselves. But the uncomfortable truth is that safe marketing ultimately is silent marketing. So if your content doesn't make people feel something or remember who you are, frankly, it isn't working. And so today, what I want to show you is why creativity is the smartest marketing move you can make and how it makes every pound of your marketing budget work much harder. Before I dive into the content, I just want to talk about the sources of where it's come from. So I'm drawing from 3 sources of evidence-based insight. If you're in the world of marketing land and if you've been in marketing land on LinkedIn, you will have seen these things washing the way through the network. So there's The Great Divide, which is a report published by System 1 and FE. System 1 test ads. They've got a whole series of panels and they test advertising campaigns, proving that emotion and not logic ultimately drives brand growth. They were also involved in another paper called The Extraordinary Cost of Dull, another dull white paper, and that was with Eat Big Fish. Eat Big Fish are an agency working with startups and helping them take on the big brands. I should say FE is an organization based out in Australia that awards campaigns for effectiveness. So they don't award on creativity alone. They award on the basis of making an absolute difference to the bottom line on the numbers. And then the last bit of resource that I'm drawing from is Mark Ritson, the wonderful Mark Ritson. If you don't know him, he's a sharp-tongued marketing professor. He's not afraid of dropping the F-bomb. But his core offer is that he takes marketing science and turns it into plain English. And he often does that whilst making you laugh at the same time. He's quite an entertaining guy, but if you're easily offended, probably steer away from his content. But what they're all working towards is addressing a core problem in marketing that I heard expressed by Mary Portas yesterday at the Festival of Marketing. I don't know if anyone was at the Festival of Marketing yesterday, but I was there for the day. And she said, as part of one of the keynotes, creativity is never at the core of brand and marketing. It's always on the fringe. And she should know, right? Because she's one of the UK's best-known retail advisors. When she joined Harvey Nicks in the 1980s, the department store in London, it was a loss-making store struggling for relevance. And she helped to reposition it as a cultural destination, revitalizing its reputation ultimately, and proving that creativity can transform a brand. And since that work, she's since advised governments on the future of retail, amongst other things. And so if someone who's proved that the commercial power of creativity says is being sidelined, then it tells us something important, I think. Most businesses are missing their opportunity to grow, which is why I want to show you today that creativity isn't a luxury, it's your biggest growth lever. And to start, we're gonna have a quick experiment. I'm gonna show you a short advert from 2007. It'll be interesting to see if you remember it, if you were in the UK in 2007. And take a moment, if you do remember it, remember the brand. And at what point in the advert do you remember the brand? And the other thing to reflect on as you watch this advert is, how does it make you feel? And we'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. So here comes the advert. So there you go, that's Cadbury's. It'd be interesting to know whether you kind of remember that advert from 15 years ago. But for a lot of people, that's the magic. It's 15 years old and people still remember it. A glass and a half full of joy. That gorilla is clearly having a lot of joy, bashing his drum skins as he enjoys his Phil Collins. And that's what creative marketing does. It cuts through the noise and sticks in the memory. Whether that's a TV spot with a big budget, whether that's on TikTok, whether it's a social reel, or website hero video, whether it's positioning, logos, and it's built on 3 essential steps, 3 ingredients, and we'll get to those shortly. But where has this all come from? Well, I wanted to introduce you to someone who's helped us understand why creativity matters so much in marketing, and someone who's been driven by data. And this is Paul Dyson. I don't know whether you've heard of him, but he's got absolutely nothing to do with vacuum cleaners or hair dryers. This is a data analyst, a marketing data analyst, specialist. And he founded something called the Data to Decisions. It's now part of Dentsu, one of the world's largest advertising and marketing groups. And he's since set up a consultancy called Accelero. And he spent over 20 years analyzing what really drives marketing effectiveness across TV, social, display, emails, and more. And he's not guessing, he's not pitching, he's measuring what delivers real business outcomes, real growth. And what he found should change the way that we think about our marketing budgets, especially if you're part of a small brand. And here's what it's all about. It's kind of the 10 top drivers of profitability within the kind of marketing. And he's ranked them. He's looked at thousands of campaigns, and the most powerful drivers of marketing investment and return on marketing investment fundamentally is brand size. You see that at number 1. Brand size is big brands get more return because they have more mental availability. They've got big brands, big budgets, bigger reach, more awareness, more distribution, and more creating more memory structures. And that has a 20 times multiplier effect. So you get a 20 times return on your investment if you're a big brand. But look at what's in second place. Creative quality comes second, ahead of targeting, ahead of media mix, ahead of budget allocation. And here's the kicker. The difference between weak creative and strong creative can be up to 12 times ROI. So for the same budget, the same placement, the same audience, the quality of your creative makes the biggest difference, substantially over anything else. And that applies whether you're boosting a post or running a campaign. And when Dyson says a 12 times multiplier, here's what he means. Imagine two brands spend the same budget in the same channel, reaching the same audience. If one uses weak, forgettable creative, it might just break even. If the other uses powerful, emotional, distinctive creative, the return could be 12 times higher. That's significant, isn't it? The money isn't working harder because of the media plan. It's working harder because of the creative itself. Let's see this in action. I've been reviewing the pitches of some financial advice firms for a client of mine as part of a marketing review. Now imagine you're looking for a financial advisor, someone who can help make the most of your pensions or help you think about your savings or your investment strategies. Here are 4 recommendations. And here's how 4 of them introduce themselves. And these are real. Take a minute to have a read of them and reflect on what they're saying. Compare them. As you notice, as you read them, what do you notice? Which one would you call first? When everyone is saying that they're experienced or comprehensive and trusted, the harsh reality is that nobody stands out, right? They're all listing what they do, but they're not showing why it matters. And they then take that into their websites. Inevitably in this sector, what you get is a lot of stock photography of happy, smiley faces, usually of grandparents with grandchildren, everyone enjoying themselves. It's interesting that colors are very similar, type is very similar, and the messaging is all very similar. And the whole point of good marketing is to create distinctions, so it's easy to choose your brand over any other in the space. Here's how it works. There are 3 steps in good, effective creativity: emotion, fluency, and time. And this is at the heart of what Mark Ritson talks about. So 3 factors that kind of create return. And the first one we'll think about is emotion. So people remember things that make them feel something, whether that's a smile, a surprise, even a moment of joy or empathy. If your post or email or ad creates a feeling, it's far more likely to get noticed and remembered. Let's go back to our financial advisors. We've read them, we kind of know about them. If we now have a 5th that very simply says, last year we helped 34 clients pay off their mortgages 6 years early, immediately we've got a contrast because we're appealing to an emotional thing. It's happy, it's pleasing. To pay off your mortgage early changes lives. It's not just talking about what they do, it's talking about the results, the outcome of what happens. So it becomes emotional, it's happy, it's pleasing, it's visual. You can picture in your mind someone cutting years off your mortgage. It's specific, it's not a vague promise, but it's measurable, it's a countable outcome, something you can actually point to, and it's proof. It's not saying we're experienced, it's showing what the experience does in action. So emotion creates a creative effectiveness. It makes it effective to be emotional. It kind of connects to the individual. The second one is fluency. And here what we're talking about is emotion only really pays off if people know it's you. So you need recognizable brand assets: colors, tone, layout, logo, illustration, photography. That's what System 1 calls fluent devices, and they dramatically improve recall. It's all about instant brand recognition. So take someone like Hiscox, the insurers. This is very much focused on small business owners. They're targeting, it's all rooted in research that they've done and panels that they've led. Look at what's going on here. So we've got something really emotional. It's all appealing to a kind of sense of jeopardy. It was just a little spreadsheet slip up, one teeny tiny £10,000 slip up. Your client was always a bit judgy about your work, but now they're threatening to get a bit lawyery. It's all that kind of emotional jeopardy. And then the finance director broke their wrist, so did the head of HR, and they're both you. But look at what else is going on. Stylistically, they're all similar. They've got the same red photography, monotone photography. They've got the black background. They've got the angle of the text. They've got these simple brand colors of black, white, and reds. We've got the dotted line. And over time, that's building up a consistency and imagery that makes the creativity memorable. So here's some examples I want you to have a think about. So we're going to test it now. I'm going to flash 5 visual brands up and we'll see what sticks. Which brands do you recognize? Here comes the first. Here comes the second. Here's the third. And here's another one here. And do we know what they are? So obviously the first one is McDonald's. We all recognize the golden arches. This one is Coke. We've got MasterCard here. And then if you're familiar with the UK supermarket scene, this is Tesco. And that's because they're building on and using distinctive assets, because distinctive assets create recognition. And if your visuals are generic, then no one's going to remember you. But if they're distinctive, even for a moment, that moment compounds. Fluency turns creativity into memory. And then the final ingredient, the final step is time. And this is the one that most marketeers really mess up. When you stick with a creative idea or a visual identity over time, it really starts to compound. So research that Dyson has done confirms that campaigns that run for over 2 years are 7.5 times more profitable than those that keep changing. So if you run your campaigns for over 2 years, you're more likely, far more likely to make them profitable, because you need consistency, not constant novelty, to cut through with your creativity. So let me prove that. Let's have a look at some brands and some strap lines. I want you to think about, you know, where are these strap lines from? And let's remember, this isn't about advertising. This is about positioning and being known for something that's distinctive. And then have a guess at how old you think these strap lines are. So we've got here, Because You're Worth It, we know that's L'Oreal. Every Little Helps, that's Tesco. Four-Sprung Dirt Technique, that's Audi. Never Knowingly Undersold, that's John Lewis. Just Do It, probably one of the most famous, that's Nike. Does exactly what it says on the tin, that's Ronseal. If you're in the UK and you've been around for the last 30 years, you'll know that. Snap, Crackle and Pop is cereal by Kellogg's. And It's Finger Licking Good, KFC. But here's the thing, they've been around for decades and decades. And because they've been used for such a long time, we all instantly know who the brands are. And that's the kind of timepiece. Holding your nerve and staying consistent on your positioning creates that memory in the mind of your target audience, so you stay memorable. So these are the 3 things that help make creativity work. So emotion, fluency, and time. And if you don't invest in these things, you end up playing safe. And that has a cost. So System 1, the panel research guys that I talked about at the start, who are involved in a lot of the research, they've demonstrated that dull creative delivers 40% less return on investment. So that means you have to spend more, promote harder, and post more often just to get the same results. Safe marketing kills efficiency, and it's quietly draining your budget. And here's the killer fact. So the way that System 1 works is that they show ads to panels and they kind of rank them at an emotional level. What kind of emotional engagement did they trigger in you? And they created an ad based on the footage of cows chewing grass. And this film of cows chewing grass outperformed the majority of the other ads that they put into the panel. So a slow pan across a field of cows performed better than most of the ads brands actually paid to make. Why? Well, because most ads don't make people feel anything. They're not emotional, they're not distinctive, they're not consistent. and they're not run for a long time. Creativity, by contrast, makes every pound work harder. It's the difference between a budget spent and a budget that performs. So let's bring this back to you. Here's a question to have a think about. Is your current brand and marketing closer to dull and uncreative, or distinctive and creative? Here's a quick way to find out. Take some time to consider 10 competitors, or if you don't think you've got some natural competitors because you're in a startup space, think about those who you get compared to, who are your nearest neighbors, who are you being compared to. Write a list of those competitors or nearest neighbors, then go to their homepage and grab their homepage headlines and also their about us blurbs, you know, how they position themselves, how they talk about themselves, and post them all into a Word file, a blank Word file. Then add your homepage pitch and your about us pitch. Remove all reference to brand names and any reference to locations. Set everything in 14-point Arial. Save the file and then close it, and then forget about it for a week, for 3 days maybe. And then reopen the file and read them, each one slowly. And what you're doing in reading them is identifying what stands out, what blends in, what language is similar across the set, how distinctive do they sound? And ultimately, is it time to get more creative? Because at the heart of it is kind of what you need to be able to identify. What's the one thing you change tomorrow to make your content more creative? How can it be more emotional? How can it make people feel, not just think? How can it be more fluent? How can it be more instantly recognizable as you? And can it be more consistent over time? Can you stick with an idea long enough so it compounds? You don't need a big budget to be creative. You just need the courage to be emotional, the discipline to be fluent, and the patience to play the long game. So key takeaways: creativity is the ultimate ROI multiplier, 12 times the ROI, and the second most effective ways to kind of create an ROI for your marketing. So safe content isn't safe. It's wasteful. It's a waste of your budget. You're not applying it well. And with emotion, fluency, and time, small brands can really punch above their weight. It's not about being clever. It's about being remembered. So I hope you found that interesting. If you think your marketing's starting to feel a bit beige, let's talk. Very happy to kind of give you a point of view on what could make it more bold, fluent, and unmissable. Because the harsh reality is that creativity isn't the cherry on top. It's not the thing that should be a nice to have. It's an absolutely need to have. It's the smartest marketing move you can make. If you're interested in getting more insights, then scan the QR code and sign up for the newsletter.
Incredible. Thanks, Michael. Thanks for making me feel really old as well today. Remembering Snap, Crackle and Pop and all these distinctive and amazing straplines and brands, but I guess that's why we remember them so much. If anyone has any questions for Michael, please feel free to pop them in the chat about his presentation or anything to do with brands per se. Please feel free to do that. If not to worry. Michael, question for me. So the strap line that you mentioned, okay, there's a link there. Great. Oh, we have a question. Let me ask my question. We'll come to that question. Thank you for that. So you talked about the strap lines, and we remember these strap lines because not only were they incredibly creative and witty, and look, Ron, for anyone who is outside of the UK that doesn't know Ron Seal, I mean, it's just incredible because you can say to people of a certain age, if they're not a certain age, they'll SMH at you. But you can sort of say that's Ron Seal, right? And that is incredible. Still pays to this day, right? The strap line 2025 moving forward, how do you think it fits? Is it aligned? Is it a place fit? Because we're in different mediums, right, that we're using to kind of have this. Maybe give you a 2025 take on the strap line.
Yeah, I mean, it's still absolutely crucial. The world is just as noisy, as if not noisier, than sort of 20, 30 years ago. You've got to find a way that really allows you to cut through that noise in a way that's memorable and distinctive. The real challenge there is settling on something that only you can say. in a way that is clear, concise, and compelling. Because all of us have got really short attention spans. We all know, the kind of death of scroll and the and doom scrolling. You've got to do something that stands out, and the only way you can do that is by thinking about the kind of emotional connection. I think that the stuff that Hiscox has been doing at a campaign level or on the strapline level is really effective, because it really plays to the fears of small business leaders in a way that's kind of not scaremongering, but just kind of playing to the reality of what people are thinking. So I think straplines are really critical, because it's a really succinct, clear way of getting your essence across distinctly.
Okay, so question: how do SMEs bring creativity into what they're doing? So don't have large creative teams. Like, how can smaller SME businesses bring creativity into what they're doing?
I think you've got to start by thinking about the level of investment you're willing to put into this, and over what time period. I think the challenge, particularly in a kind of CFO context, is it always feels very short term. And the CFO is going to want to see that ROI kind of come back within quarters, or if over a year. You've got to take the time to make out and do the research. There's plenty of research out there that says certainly the brand building piece really does take time, and you need to kind of build it in terms of years rather than months and quarters. So, and then it's thinking about realistic budgets. So typically you really want to be aiming for a budget that's between 5 and 10% of gross profit. That's what you're aiming for. And then you're then thinking about what is it that we need to invest in, being really absolutely crystal clear on the target audience, because that's absolutely critical. Make sure, really good brands know who they're not for as much as who they are for, and having that real clarity to then inform your brand strategy, your marketing strategy. So, who are we for, what's our position in the market, and then what are the commercial objectives that we actually need to work towards? How do we target our awareness? Is it about awareness? Is it about conversion? Is it about nurture? And being really clear on your customer or client acquisition to work out where in the journey are people dropping out and deciding actually you're not the right brand and option, and then thinking about where the marketing can actually start to address those dropout points. You hear about this idea of the sales funnel and leaky sales funnel. You've got to have a really close relationship with sales in order to understand where things are siphoning off and where the opportunity is to strengthen your acquisition.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Amazing. All the ways to get in touch with Michael and to get his slides and all that type of stuff will be in the show notes, and will be emailed to everybody that's attended this webinar. So for those people that are arriving now, you missed it, you're going to have to watch it on YouTube. So that's fine, we're not doing it again. But yeah, thank you. Wishing all of you an amazing blessed Friday and a wonderful weekend, and we'll speak to you soon. Thank you.